Radio. Another game in the Capablanca Lasker match. Not that anybody cares, but I'm gonna record them all. And, well, in this is the game 9, Capablanca on white side. We go d4, surprise, like I think almost all the games. Maybe through in a sneaky 4-in-1, maybe. Anyways, maybe even 2. Well, knight f3, surprise, e6. We're basically declining the queen's gambit already in advance, but now at least we get something different. So c5, bang. Lasker throws in the Tarrasch defense. We're just pushing ponies. No pieces developed yet. Well, white takes once, black takes back. The downside, of course, that if you take with the queen, then you are giving free development for the white. Not ideal. So black's idea is to take with a pawn. Well, the downside, of course, and upside is that we get a nice isolated queen's pawn, maybe. Of course, there is still chances that black could at some point play c4 and then it doesn't end up as an isolated pawn. It's kind of like a backwards pawn, but of course white could guaranteed by taking here, but then black takes here in one swoop and it's not too unhappy about life. It's an IQB, but you can live with it. It has obvious weaknesses, being an alone pawn weak, but it also is well, let's just for the demonstration's sake, it also is a center pawn, advanced center pawn, as white is gonna get a lot less advanced pawn probably on e3, so there is always some outpost places, and well, we are very unrestricted by them. We have a open file. Okay, white has that one. We have a semi-open file. White does not have that one. Both bishops are free. If white plays e3, then his bishop is definitely not free. Of course, he doesn't have to play e3, but and also the outpost, the pawn secures here is sometimes very relevant. And well, it's an interesting, very rich position. Well, white doesn't want to take in instantly there. He wants to wait for the bishop to move to take. So we get the knight c3, maybe threatening to take and then take here. Well, black does not defend their pawn. You could ask, what's up? Why can't we take a pawn? Well, probably we don't take here with the bishop, but bang, d5, d4, sorry. And then this knight has to do something. And usually the things happen is like this is very typical line that black gets their pawn back with the little forkage here. And then, I don't know, rook c1. Queen goes somewhere. Eventually white tries to play e3, for instance, to get the thingies out. It's a popular line, played a lot still today. So instead of taking here, white goes for Rubinstein's line against the Tarrasch. As far as I checked in the database, Kappa hadn't had this exact position ever before. He had some games in a little different move order where he played the bishop g5 lines. I think in some simul games. Maybe I missed some other move order thingy, but basically, as far as I know, he hasn't played the Rubinstein before against the Tarrasch. Well, knight f6, development, bishop g2. Lasker definitely had a game in this before. Let's see, I'm gonna show it when we differ from that one. Bishop e6 is maybe a little premature in a way that we pick up the placement for the bishop instantly, being nervous about the IQB. And it's kind of violates the principle of we probably want to always develop them kingside bishop first. So get ready to castle. I guess black was kind of hesitant of moving this one. He still was hoping that white would take and we'd take in one swoop here. Maybe like he want to lose a tempo here. Yeah, I don't know. It's not the worst move in the world. White castles, and then black plays bishop e7 anyways, and then white now bangs here. Pop. And black takes back. Now we have the IQB, isolated queen's pawn. Bishop g5. Here the Lasker had been before against Mr. Rubinstein himself, the master of the, or the author of this line, the bishop g2 against the Tarrasch. In this game, the Lasker plays d4. Against the Rubinstein, he played castles here. And then we got like rook c1, bishop dropped back out of the way, b3, rook e8, e3, fixing the pawn here, knight b4, knight d4, h6, chop, chop, a3, knight c6, knight takes d5, bishop takes, knight takes, e takes. Well, here we got rook e7, claiming that this can't be defended. And then it dropped, and well, eventually that game ended in a draw. This time d4, bang, knight has to move, knight jumps there, pinning the knight. The downside of course here is that everything is, well, black is definitely threatening to take here, so everything is lining up to get chopped off. White has to do something about it. Maybe he could have taken with the bishop. In a game he took with the knight and everything got chopped off. Not with the idea of taking it back again. Well, we just transpose to a different move or into the game line, but here go for probably for undermining the knight, trying to snag this pawn here. And this is not a threat because we can always take here with check, pop. The idea, of course, that we like to take, if black takes the pawn, then we chop here. And well, if queen takes, we chop here, and then we get some nice play here. The knight is also probably hanging here, so can probably pop, 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 and maybe steal a pawn. Black, of course, doesn't have to take. He can stop with a6, but then white can try to insist, and then, I don't know, b5, and well, it could go into a messy situation. Like we'll take here with somebody, let's say return queen. This would probably be not at all good because here and the knight already is defending everything here, so doesn't look at all good. White's up a pawn with maybe even better pieces too. Yeah, this would probably be a better way to do it, trying to squeeze for the pawn here. Instead, in a game we get chop, 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 chop. IQB, but defended. Copper plate here, queen a4, pin, but idea of course is to bring the rooks to the d file. Castles. Well, he could go there, but I don't know. Black just keeps on defending. We can double up, black does the same, and it's very hard to add an attacker here anymore. This is well covered, so e3 stuff is not gonna work. You can try maybe like knight e1, trying to unleash here. And that's a threat, but black can probably neutralize that by trading the bishops off and just defending the pawn again. And or anyways, we didn't get that one. White goes on poking there. Says the b7 is not defended. Black defends it though. So very rude. And then we get the rooks to the d file. Black just, well, it's defended already enough. So it just makes a luft. And then white kind of threatens to maybe take and take, but there is the rook here popping up, so it's not obvious that it's gonna work out, but maybe. Black is not even bothering with the d pawn, he's gonna go for the e pawn instead. White is doubling up here, well, also defending this and well, planning probably this. And black is piling up on here. Well, we get rook c1 with some kind of designs that we take. This is defended. Of course, white is defending this with the backwards here, so it's not hanging. Rook e5, saying queen has to go, and queen does go backwards, keeping eye on the e pawn. And black is piling up on there, so white just decides to let's trade the bishops. And after here, we actually ended up in a draw. They agreed to a draw. White probably takes with the knight and then rook's hanging. I don't know, it moves somewhere. And well, the downside of course is that, well, maybe white takes here, we take here, white takes here, we take here. This takes here, this takes here. Pop. It's probably equal as it gets. Anyways, not very eventful, but like I said, we have to be complete. And well, again, sorry for if you watch this. It was almost non-game, but until next time, maybe it's better.